We are live.
Yay! It is Monday, and it's been an entire week since we got to talk, since it was last Monday. Um, and I missed it. I really
Yeah,
do. I can't stand it when we don't get to do episodes, but we're here now, so all the good. Before I forget, I am old new dude. He is.
Richard York, Asher's trueborn son.
Shout out to my sister and her husband Carl for throwing some DC knowledge my way about Booster Gold, which is uh, a character that I like a lot, and there's rumors that Chris Pratt might play him on a TV
Cool.
show. I have to look into it a little bit more, but any news about Booster Gold, I'll take. And
Sounds
then
good.
what else was it? Oh yeah, the Stark Arbor. I sent Lady Thistle and Lizzie a picture of it and asked, would it be considered cheating if I bought this to wear at the Ice and Fire Con?
Yeah, I
Hey,
don't think.
Lizzie. And Lizzie said it'd be a crime not to buy it. And Lady Thistle said Lizzie said she would wear it every day. So I said, once I get it, it'd be here in about a month. I might be doing every one of these live streams sitting in it because my wife
Nice.
was pointing out that I'd only wear it once. And I'm like, that's what you think. I'm going to wear it as many times as I can. I might even actually have my son follow me at the grocery store in Stark Armor, and I already have the LARPing sword ice. It comes up to here on me, so it's already pretty good.
That armor is something you'll
Exactly.
need to wear everywhere.
Oh
Literally
yeah.
everywhere. Picking kids up,
Everywhere I
grocery
get my
store, voting.
we're together pretty long time, 28 years, 29 years, and this will probably be the one thing that pisses her off the most is me wearing this thing everywhere I can. But um, I promise you, I will wear it any chance I can get. But that's got nothing to do with Cat. Lady Thistle said to go for it, so I got two people recommending it, and I asked Richard, and he's like, "It's not my cup of tea." At the first Ice of Fire Con, I don't know, and
Ah,
you
well, it's
got
probably not for
outvoted
me,
me.
but then you were like, "Oh, I'm the sort of person who would do that." I'm like, "Go for it then."
Yeah, I have a tendency to run my mouth and tend to be the life of the party, or try to be. Uh,
That's
but
good.
all right, we got enough of the short talk out of the way because we hadn't talked in a week. Uh, Catlin won. I'm not a big fan of Catlin chapters, um, but at least it gives us a window into Rob. So
Well, I
Catlin
think
won.
she's a little more. I think she's a little more on the ball than the Order of the Green Hand takes her for in this chapter. Personally, I know they're like, well, of course, the Blackfish would have already known all this and so forth. I'm like, I don't know. She seems like
I
she's
put her.
maybe a step ahead of him.
I put her smarter than Cersei, but kind of cut out of the same cloth a little bit.
Well, I
So
mean, she's supposed to. I think she's kind of supposed to be our real mother character, so she kind of represents mother and mercy and trying to avoid war and so forth, right?
yeah,
Kat says a lady's courtesy is her armor. She's a Stark. Totally ties into a cat chapter.
Stark armor.
Oh, yeah.
I caught that, Lizzie.
Okay.
uh, yeah,
She's trying. She's trying to avoid war. I mean, I know she kind of starts the war, but
I think she had help with that. I mean, we had
yeah, perhaps,
that
perhaps.
for you to sit there and go over 2 or 3 pages on why you shouldn't start a war now, and then turn
Right,
around and do one thing to start the
right,
war
right.
now. I think there was some hidden help there, but
But
I
I mean,
don't
she's
think
clearly
she's
trying to. She's clearly trying in this chapter. So,
well. She's not as stupid as Order the Green Hand says she is, by far. I mean, I,
although I do think that the sending Roose Bolton was a really bad move, personally.
the what?
But convincing Rob to send Roose Bolton was a really
Oh yeah,
terrible
yeah,
move.
yeah, yeah.
but yeah. All right. Her son's
Okay,
crown was fresh. Yeah, let's go ahead. You ready?
no, you're good.
All right. Her son's crown was fresh from the forge, and it seemed to Catelyn Stark that the weight of it pressed heavy on Rob's head. The ancient crown of the Kings of Winter had been lost 3 centuries ago, yielded up to Aegon the Conqueror when Torrhen Stark knelt in submission. What Aegon had done with it, no man could say. Lord Hoster Smith had done his work well, and Rob's crown looked much as the other was said to have looked in the tales told of the Stark Kings of old, an open circlet of hammered bronze, incised with the runes of the first men, surmounted by 9 black iron spikes wrought in the shape of long swords. Of gold and silver and gemstones it had none. Bronze and iron were the metals of winter, dark and strong to fight against the cold. I guess that one thing I didn't put in the notes here is that 9 is usually Odin symbolism, but you can go if you want to know about Odin symbolism. We're not your guy. Go watch LML or something, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so this reminds me of another bronze circlet worn by the gray-eyed maid of winter with the secret Targaryen symbolism. See Triplet Targaryens episode 7. For more on secret Targaryen symbolism, see Triplet Targaryens episode 5. And my recent tweet on the Mad King and his biological daughter's shared dream of building in white away from the stink of King's Landing. So anyway, I don't know if you saw that tweet.
Yeah, I haven't read this, so that was the first time I actually saw what you wrote there.
One, two.
The only thing I got down for the bronze and iron were the metals of winter, dark and strong, to fight against the cold. There's two parts.
There's also a line there where it says the other had looked, right. So it really almost sounds like the old Stark kings were tied to the others, right? As the other was said to have looked.
Oh yeah. I'm talking about the
Rob's crown looked much as the other was said to have looked.
Yeah.
Tales told of the Stark kings of old. So that really does kind of imply that the Night's King being a Stark, right?
Yeah,
a Stark king.
Well, it does give that imagery. But the bronze and iron is what sticks out to my mind. They're definitely first men metals, because we don't get steel until we get the andals. So if bronze and iron were used to fight the against the cold, why were they losing? Because that's what they were fighting with, ain't it?
Yeah, you'd think so, but I mean, apparently they did win eventually. So I mean, we believe that's because of Lightbringer, right?
Yeah.
We also see this crown publicly mocked for the metals used. This is meant to happen as a clue to how important those metals may be. And bronze will tie in the Royce's words. We remember, right? Yeah. It is interesting that the Royces are it's good. The North remembers, and so do the Royces apparently.
Yeah. Well, I mean, don't all of them have rune-infused bronze armor?
Yeah.
Even the girl, the one they call the bronze bitch on
I think that's
the dragon.
I think that is the reason why she's called that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, when we know that the others, the White Walkers, do not like iron. They don't like the iron in our blood. That type of situation. What Nan was saying. I don't know the properties of metal or any types of metal, to be honest with you, to know enough to point out the advantages of bronze and iron against cold weather, but it's there.
I probably should, but it's been too long since.
Hey, would you think? I know I heard it somewhere, and with my memory, there's no telling where I heard it from. That the bronze and iron circlet that was on the crown worn by the king stopped visions or people invading their brain or whatever. Was that?
Lizzie says, I think we see a Royce killed by a walker first for a reason. They remember what? It's got to go way back, and they're an ancient house. I think they may be important later. Yeah, I definitely think that's the implication that we remember. Yeah, that it is regarding the long night.
Yeah.
Sorry, what were you saying?
I remember somebody saying something about the crown would stop green sight from coming in.
Yeah, it could be.
Or glass candles or whatever
yeah, that makes sense.
The invasion of the brain.
Or maybe it helps magnify their own abilities to conversely.
I like that.
I mean, in theory, the Stark kings are probably skin changers, right? They're probably wards in particular, right? So it makes sense if it's actually trying to magnify their abilities.
I like yours better.
Yeah, it makes some sense, I think. Kneel before the king, Lannister, the young Greyjoy shouted. Sir Robin forced the prisoner to his knees. He did not look a lion, Catelyn reflected. This Sir Cleos Frey was the son of the Lady Jenna, who was sister to Lord Tywin Lannister, but he had none of the fabled Lannister beauty, the fair hair and green eyes. Instead, he inherited the stringy brown locks, weak chin, and thin face of his sire, Sir Emmon Frey, old Lord Walder's second son. His eyes were pale and watery, and he could not seem to stop blinking, but perhaps that was only the light. So it's a nice Lannister fake out, but here we meet Cleos Frey. I kind of like him. Rest in peace. It was not the sword that made Sir Cleos Frey anxious. It was the beast. Greywind, her son had named him. A direwolf large as an elk hound, lean and smoke dark, with eyes like molten gold. When the beast padded forward and sniffed at the captive knight, every man in that hall could smell the scent of fear. Sir Cleos had been taken during the battle in the Whispering Wood, where Greywind had ripped out the throats of half a dozen men. So I kind of don't get the elk hound thing, because wolfhounds are considered the largest breed, while elk hounds are, I looked them up, and they're typically under 50 pounds. So I wonder if that's just a mistake. Because they talk about mastiffs and other breeds in these books, and so I think we are supposed to be aware of the modern breeds, and I think this is probably just an error.
Yeah,
I think it probably means. I think it means a wolfhound.
Isn't the tales of Nymeria leading the pack say that she's as large as a horse around this time?
Or a small horse, or yeah, probably. I mean, I would think so. And like I said, I mean, wolfhounds are about as big as dogs get, and
yeah.
So that's where I think he probably meant.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Greywind's the fastest, supposedly, right? I mean, his swiftness is his superpower, but Nymeria, I mean, I don't know. We'll catch it on one of these Arya chapters or whatever. But I want to say around this time is when we get a lot of the wolf.
Well, we were getting stories. We were getting stories, and remember, she spoke up, and that's why she was meeting Jaqen and Gendry, right? And we talked about how it really seemed like it might have been an intervention that kind of made her go be in the right place at the right time.
When we're done, remind me that I need to tell you something before, that way I don't forget. All right, because I meant to do it at the beginning of this episode, but I forgot. But
all right. I want your pledge on your honor as a knight that after you deliver my message, you return with the queen's reply and resume your captivity. Sir Cleos answered at once, I do so vow. Every man in this hall has heard you, warned Catelyn's brother, Sir Edmund Tully, who spoke for Riverrun and the lords of the Trident from the place of their dying father. If you do not return, the whole realm will know you forsworn. I will do as I pledged, Sir Cleos replied stiffly. So breaking vows seems more common when done as a parallel for Ned's bigamy. In Catelyn's 4th chapter in Storm, Catelyn and Robert will be astonished by Tyrion, who's probably technically marrying Sansa. He swore to trade her for his brother, she said numbly. Sansa and Arya both. We would have been back if we returned his precious Jaime. He swore it before the whole court. How could he marry her after saying that in sight of gods and men? He's the Kingslayer's brother. Oath-breaking runs in their blood. So the irony that Robb agreed to a marriage pact appears lost on them. The parallels to Ned's bigamy include Tyrion's bigamy, Jaime forsaking his similar vow to stop the same Mad King, and Robb's abandoned vow.
Yeah.
Right. First, the queen must release my sisters. So I'm abbreviating all these demands and all the corresponding, and I'll do this and that stuff because this is pretty long. And, we got to get through it all. Catelyn Stark wish. Oh, what do we got here? Ned's bigamy counts as 3. First, the queen must release my sisters. Catelyn Stark wished she could read the thoughts that hid behind each face, each furrowed brow and pair of tightened lips. So there are quite a few mind-reading hints in these books, and if the old gods answer prayers, it could be relevant to the story, right?
Yeah.
Secondly, my lord father's bones will be returned to us. Living men had gone south, and cold bones would return. Ned had the truth of it, she thought. His place was at Winterfell, he said as much. But would I hear him? No. Go, I told him. You must be Robert's hand, for the good of our house, for the sake of our children. My doing, mine, no other. So we believe the intervention may have helped, but so maybe there was another. Our characters are usually wrong.
Yeah, you notice there's a pause right there after "for the sake of our children." That was her main reason for sending him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Yeah, like she's thinking about how their children were at risk. Yep.
Right. Well, the pause is to stop her from finishing the rest of that thought.
Right. Interrupting interrupt
Yeah.
them to maintain their trueborn status. Yeah.
Well, that doesn't give it. It stops the reader from finding out what she was going
Yeah.
to add to that.
Right. But I mean, that's what she would have been thinking, and so you have to stop there because otherwise it would give the game away.
We when we get to the male chapter later on down the road, I definitely want to pay attention to how many times that pause is used to stop a train of thought, because there's so much that Mel
Which
knows.
chapter? Oh, Mel. Yeah.
Mel, yeah, Mel Thomas.
That's a ways down.
It's a ways down the road, yeah.
Third, my father's greatsword ice will be delivered to my hand. Fourth, the queen will command her father, Lord Tywin, to release those knights and lords bannermen of mine that he took captive in the battle on the Green Fork of the Trident. Jaime Lannister alone who will remain my hostage for his father's good behavior. She studied Theon Greyjoy's sly smile, wondering what it meant. That young man had a way of looking as though he knew some secret jest that only he was privy to. Catelyn had never liked it. So these are good instincts, and probably the most common correct beliefs are when our characters get a bad feeling, right? Which is used by the author to foreshadow, right, the disasters that are coming, right? Which is why the characters tend to be extremely reliable in that aspect, even if they're unreliable in most of their conclusions.
Yeah. On that though, before we go on, she studied Theon Greyjoy's sly smile, wondering what it meant. That young man had a way of looking as though he knew some secret jest that only he was privy to. Catelyn had never liked it. And in the Feast of Crows, the prologue, the Sphinx was always smiling as if he knew some secret jape. And if we knew what Theon was smiling at, or we knew what Alaris, I'm not on board for Sorellis being Alaris, but the secret jape. It just, I mean, when I read it, that's exactly what I thought of, was the Sphinx having the same look on his face that Tyrion does all the time. I don't know what it means, but
Theon, yeah.
Theon.
The Sphinx and Theon being tied together. That's an interesting observation. We'll have to keep our eye on
that. I mean, if you go down the little rabbit hole, and I won't go far down it, you got Theon as the only son of a great lord, and then the one of the prevailing, other than Alaris being
Umbrella. That's the other option, right? Is that they're twins and
that one I actually I can get behind that one a whole lot more than I would the that secretly hiding at
I kind of like the Serella Alaris thing because it's a trope that he hasn't done elsewhere as much. Well, I mean, it kind of has in a way. I guess you could say Arya kind of does it all the time, right? For boy, so, but you know the idea of actually having a woman infiltrate. He does brave Danny Flint. Rings rhymes with Sphinx. I like it.
Oh, you're on fire today, Larry.
Anyway, yeah, so I'm okay with it either way. Basically, like either they're twins and Shay is the most likely alternative, right? Or it's the fact that he would know. I'll say he because clearly he's going by male pronouns. He would be he would be knowledgeable in glamour, so he'd be more able to succeed in the ways that the Lord of the Green Hand is skeptical of, right? Than Arya would.
Well, you got Arya as what 10-year-old, and then you got
but I mean, that arguably makes it easier because you don't have much.
Alaris would be what 15, 16 maybe.
I think he's supposed to be closer to 18.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Okay.
Yep.
Sorry about the rabbit hole.
No problem. Lastly, King Joffrey and the Queen Regent must renounce all claims to dominion over the North. The King of the North! Boomed Great John Umber, a hand-sized fist hammering at the air as he shouted, Stark! Stark! The King of the North! There are the terms. If she meets them, I'll give her peace. If not, he whistled and Grey Wind moved forward, snarling. I'll give her another whispering wood. Stark! The Great John roared again, and now other voices took up the cry. Stark! Stark! King of the North! The Knower threw back his head and howled. The frenzy for war feels great and is usually a mistake.
Yeah. On that note, with the whistle, and then later on we get something from Grey Wind that's anticipating or understanding what Rob is feeling. I know House
Yeah.
of Dragon with the reins or whatever they have for the dragons to steer them and all that kind of stuff. I just can't, in good faith, think that the Stark Wolf bond is stronger than the Targaryen dragon bond. I
Right,
would
right. And
still
they seem
think,
to immediately be able to control them with their minds. Right, right.
right, right.
I tend to agree with you that that's certainly not my interpretation. Isn't the same as Ryan Condal's there, but he does. Um, LML would argue that he actually does show us this with Dany having so much trouble controlling Drogon, right? And
she
um,
only has trouble controlling him when she is not being a true Targaryen. If she's not,
yeah, no,
when she's pissed
I get
off,
the concept.
yeah, if she's pissed off and in her fiery blood, I mean, her and Drogon get along great. But if she's wishy washy,
Lizzie's asking if we think Rob was warging with Graylin when he led them down the hidden goat path, warging in a sense. Yeah, I do think
yeah,
he's got a good bond with Graylin, and that they are able to at least sense each other's thoughts and know what to do and communicate that way. So
sad part is he's probably got the next to last weakest bond from Children to Wolf. Bran, Rickon, Arya, John, all four of those have really strong bonds.
well, it's
And
certainly
then,
strong enough for him to do things like find this path, though, right?
right, yeah, but I mean, if Rob's was as strong as or stronger than Arya, John's, or something like that, we would probably get a little bit more of a hint at it in the books, and not knowing what Rob is thinking.
I think we see that they're on the same page with each other constantly,
Right, right.
basically, right?
Yeah, I just put him as he's next to last. Our
Yeah, that's reasonable.
Lady and Sansa, we just don't know, so I have to put her last. I mean, sorry.
Did you see the look on his face, Mother? He asked, smiling. What I saw was Lord Karstark walking out, as did I. Rob lifted off his crown with both hands and gave it to Oliver. Take this thing back to my bedchamber. So I like that by calling it a thing, it's sort of implying that he does not like his crown, or at least the responsibilities that it brings.
Oh yeah.
You cannot ask my river lords to remain idle while their fields are being pillaged and their people put to the sword, Sir Edmure said. But Lord Karstark is a Northman. It would be an ill thing if he were to leave us. Yes, that would be quite an ill thing.
Yeah, especially in the manner of the leaving.
Yeah, no foreshadowing here.
Yeah.
Her son's beard had grown in redder than his auburn hair. Rob seemed to think it made him look fierce, royal, older. But bearded or no, he was still a youth of 15 and wanted vengeance no less than Rickard Karstark, sorry. It had been no easy thing to convince him to make even this offer, poor as it was. So Catton believes she convinced Rob to make this offer, which is, possible, but I'm not sure that it matters much.
No.
But anyway, like I've said, she keeps trying. Your lords made you their king and can unmake me just as easy. If your crown is the price we must pay to have Arya and Sansa return safe, we should pay it willingly. Half your lords would like to murder Lannister in his cell. So it's an interesting explanation of Rob's feudal contract and foreshadowing of Lord Rickard Karstark's crimes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you also get the Balin Greyjoy's words kind of thrown back at you later on. If he hands me a crown, he could take it back.
Right.
Right.
We're actually, I think we're going to have that even more explicitly discussed here in a second.
Okay.
Her son was looking down at her, Catelyn realized. Was it war that made him grow so fast, she wondered, or the crown they had put on his head? So Rob seems to be tall, despite Catelyn telling us Ned is short and wanting Rob to grow as tall as his father.
There you go. She does wish. I mean, George is smart. He goes back and forth on
right.
on who that she could be referencing. One time it could be
it's
nobody
very
but
ambiguous.
Ned.
Yeah, and deliberately so.
Yeah, I'd like to kick him in the butt.
I might have been able to trade the Kingslayer for a father, but not for the girls. Her voice was icy quiet. Girls are not important enough, are they? Rob made no answer, but there was hurt in his eyes. Blue eyes, tully eyes she had given him. She had wounded him, but he was too much his father's son to admit it. That was unworthy of me, she told herself. Gods be good. What is to become of me? He's doing his best, trying so hard. I know it. I see it. And yet, I've lost my Ned, the rock my life was built on. I could not bear to lose the girls as well. Interesting that this, well, actually, technically, it's the paragraph right after it, but these
Yeah.
paragraphs back to back refer to his father and then to Ned.
Yeah. Well, it does it at the beginning of the chapter too. One time when he doesn't speak as loudly as his father would, or he doesn't raise his voice as loud as his father would, or something like that. But it does it quite a few times in this chapter.
Yep. You could find a ship as well and be back at Winterfell with the moon's turn if the winds are kind. Bran and Rickon need you, and you do not. Is that what you mean to say? My lord father has little enough time remaining him. So long as your grandfather lives, my place is at Riverrun with him. I could command you to go. As king, I could. Honestly, Bran and Rickon probably did need her more, although attending to dying is certainly reasonable.
Yeah. But doesn't he send her away anyways?
No, she kind of volunteers. Is what it sounds like to me reading this chapter.
Oh, we're talking about
But yeah, in a sense, right? I mean, but I guess, yeah. Catelyn ignored that. I'll say again, I would sooner you sent someone else to Pike and kept Theon close to you. Who better to treat with Balon Greyjoy than his son? Jason Mallister offered Catelyn. Titus Blackwood, Stephen Frey, anyone, but not Theon. Any of you, I would think, even the cook. As we hear in Samuel 5 in the next book. I told you how he saved Bran from those wildlings in the Wolfswood. Strange, I think I remember somebody complaining at that time about that. I'll have need of Lord Greyjoy's longships. You'll have them sooner if you keep his son as hostage. I do wish she reminded Robb of Ned's last words to her, but she does try hard.
Yeah, it would definitely carry more weight if she said.
I really think she should be pounding on this, right? Right. This was Ned's last. Yeah, what do you think Balon would have done to an envoy from Robb? Yeah, someone other than Theon. Yeah, he may have killed the messenger. It's certainly possible. Certainly, if it was Mallister, he probably would.
Yeah, he probably staked him out for the crabs.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. That's the first name she gives. And there's people that think that she kind of likes him.
Oh, Mallister?
Yeah, there's people that kind of ship them.
I haven't heard that. That's pretty cool.
Think she has a crush on him, kind of thing. Anyway. I'll give him a crown. Here we go. Here we go. Here's what I was talking about. You were saying that the real insult is that he's offered is right here. I'll give him a crown gladly, as long as he helps us bring down the Lannisters. Robb, and it's like she's trying to interrupt him. I'm sending Theon. Good day, mother. Greywind, come. Robb walked off briskly, the direwolf patting beside him. Right. It really makes it sound with the Robb dash. It's like he interrupted her. Like she was gonna tell him, like, this is bad. This is bad. Don't be giving him a crown, and shut her down.
Yeah.
Giving to Balon is not a recipe for success. We don't know what else she would have tried if given the chance. So I guess I shouldn't complain so much that she didn't get a chance to, that she didn't pull up the Ned card, because she thought this argument was continuing. So she didn't think she was done with this argument, right?
Right.
So she may have been holding that back for her final killing blow, as she thought, right? But unfortunately, she gets shut down.
She should have started with it.
Yeah. Got to. Don't leave. Don't leave timeouts when you head into the locker room or whatever, right?
Yeah.
The shortest way to the central keep where her father lay dying was through the Godswood with its grass and wildflowers and thick stands of elm and redwood. A wealth of rustling leaves still clung to the branches of the trees, all ignorant of the word the White Raven had brought to Riverrun a fortnight past. Autumn had come, the conclave had declared, but the gods had not seen fit to tell the winds and the woods as yet. For that, Catelyn was duly grateful. Autumn was always a fearful time, with the specter of winter looming ahead. Even the wisest man never knew whether his next harvest would be the last. I'm not sure about the significance of elms, but redwoods are somewhat close to immortal, right? They can grow back after fires for thousands of years, and so you can see them as sort of our one of our closer equivalents to weirwoods, perhaps.
Was it Harrenhal that we were talking about had the skinny weirwood tree in Arya's chapter?
Could be. I don't remember.
For some reason, I just thought of it when you were reading
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Doesn't River
Yeah.
Run still have a? Does River Run have a Weirwood?
Doesn't sound like it.
Okay.
Which, I don't know. It's kind of. I actually find some of the weird discussions kind of strange because they act like they cut down all the trees and they don't have smiles and stuff, and then we see that there are weirwoods with smiles.
Yeah.
It's kind of strange. Anyway,
Well, yeah, that's
um,
why I was saying I don't think the children carved the faces. I think the faces pop on when
when they
when
get used or something.
when they
Yeah.
get used. Yeah. Sorry.
My men call it the no. My men call it the red messenger. Well, what is the message? Catelyn raised her eyes to where the faint red line of the comet traced a path across the deep blue sky like a long scratch across the face of God. The Grey John told Robb that the old gods have unfurled a red flag of vengeance for Ned. Edward thinks it's an omen of victory for Riverrun. He sees a fish with a long tail in the Tully colors, red against blue. She sighed. I wish I had their faith. Crimson is a Lannister color. That thing's not crimson, Sir Brendan said. Nor Tully red. The mud red of the river. That's blood up there, child, smeared across the sky. Our blood or theirs? Was there ever a war where only one side bled? Her uncle gave a shake of the head. The Riverlands are awash in blood and flame all around the god's eye. So it's not Lannister crimson, but blood and flame. Flame, like
Mm,
fire.
there you
Not
go.
Lannister, but some other house.
Let's see, Lizzie got
Yeah, what have got? I believe Riverrun has a Godswood, but maybe not a Weirwood specifically. Yeah, definitely. She was just, in fact, that's what she was just talking about, just going through the Godswood and Riverrun.
yeah. There's definitely a lot of Targaryen symbolism around that comment.
Yeah. This southern lordling, Beric Dondarrion, has been raiding the raiders, falling upon Lord Tywin's foraging parties and vanishing back into the woods. It's said that Sir Burton Craycall was boasting that he'd slain Dondarrion until he led his column into one of Lord Beric's traps and got every man of them killed. Some of Ned's guard from the King's Landing are with this Lord Beric, Catelyn recalled. May the gods preserve them. Dondarrion and this red priest who rides with him are clever enough to preserve themselves if the tales be true. On reread, this means a lot more to us, and it's specifically interesting. It's like they recognize that this is Ned's guards in Beric. That she wants the guards to preserve them, which they certainly, it's the red god is certainly doing. And Dondarrion and this red priest who rides with him are clever enough to preserve themselves like gods, right?
There you go. It's extremely freaking awesome wordplay, isn't it?
Yeah. Dairymen recaptured their lord's keep, but held it less than a fortnight before Gregor Clegane descended on them and put the whole garrison to the sword, even their lord. Catelyn was horror-struck. Jerry was only a child. Aye, the last of his line as well. The boy would have brought a fine ransom. But what does gold mean to the frothing dog like Gregor Clegane? That beast's head would make a noble gift for all the people of the realm, I vow. So Derry had some cousin through a bastard, but nobody can ever inherit through a bastard claim, so Lancel's unopposed. Gregor's head is foreshadowed here as a noble gift. Also, we know Gregor is kind of obsessed with looking for gold, so this has always seemed a little strange that he didn't ransom them, right? Because I mean, we see him constantly asking, "Are there gold? Is there gold in the village? Is there jewels and all this stuff?" Right?
Now, I mean, getting back to it being Tywin's dog, do you think he's got specific orders from Tywin to leave nobody alive? I mean, just kill, 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 and kill.
I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, he's basically said they want the Riverlands aflame, and maybe he just didn't want to take the time to
Well, I
deal with
mean,
prisoners and ransom.
it also throws back to when the mountain when they attacked King's Landing and he killed the children and killed the princess. Was he doing it by Tywin's
Oh, that's
orders?
definitely by Tywin's orders. It's
Yeah.
pretty obvious, right?
I don't think.
Because
Yeah,
I mean, the fact that he says to Tyrion, who saw him order every one of his men to rape Tyrion's wife, right?
yeah.
That he says to him, "Surely you would accuse me of ordering a, a, a woman raped? I would never do such a thing." It's like, oh yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, I think when it comes to the mountain, the he doesn't do anything unless Tywin tells him to.
Yeah.
I don't think he could think clearly enough with the headaches and everything for him to come up with an original idea.
Yeah, could be. It would sicken even the dead. The dead might be capable of more than usual these days, including being sickened, I suppose. From the way some of his bannermen spoke of him, he might have been Aegon the Conqueror reborn. If only there were someone like Aegon with two dragon riding sisters. Strange, there are so many hints of Aegon reborn in this series.
Yeah, but nobody sees it.
Yeah. Every child of the Trident knew the tales told of Harrenhal, the vast fortress that King Harren the Black had raised beside the waters of God's Eye 300 years past, when the Seven Kingdoms had been seven kingdoms, and the Riverlands were ruled by the Iron Men from the islands. In his pride, Harren had desired the highest hall and tallest towers in all Westeros. 40 years it had taken, rising like a great shadow on the shore of the lake, while Harren's armies plundered his neighbors for stone, lumber, gold, and workers. Thousands of captives died in his quarries, chained to his sledges, or laboring on his 5 colossal towers. Men froze by winter and sweltered in summer. Weirwoods that had stood 3,000 years were cut down for beams and rafters. Harren had beggared the Riverlands and the Iron Islands alike to ornament his dream. And when at last Harrenhal stood complete, on the very day King Harren took up residence, Aegon the Conqueror had come ashore at King's Landing. Catelyn could remember hearing an old man tell the story to her own children back at Winterfell. And King Harren learned that thick walls and high towers are small use against dragons, the tale always ended, for dragons fly. Harren and all his line had perished in the fires that engulfed his monstrous fortress, and every house that held Harrenhal since had come to misfortune. Strong it might be, but it was a dark place and cursed. It's a nice history lesson.
Yes.
Lord Tywin is not the Kingslayer. He will not rush in heedless. He will wait patiently for Sir Stafford to march before he stirs from behind the walls of Harrenhal. Unless, said Catelyn. Yes, Sir Brendan prompted. Unless he must leave Harrenhal, she said, to face some other threat. Harkle looked at her thoughtfully. Lord Renly. King Renly! If she would ask help from the man, she would need to grant him the style he had claimed for himself. Perhaps, the Blackfish smiled a dangerous smile. He'll want something, though. He'll want what kings always want, she said. Homage. So Catelyn really does seem to be a step ahead here.
Yeah. Well, is that her foreshadowing that she's going to have to go talk to Renly, or was she possibly anticipating sending a letter? Because she fights pretty good to not have to go see Renly before she goes to see Renly.
I don't know. I took it as, her acknowledging that she needed to call him king and talk to him, but I'm not sure how you could send a letter or something in the field.
Doesn't she call him Lord?
You could send a rider, I suppose.
Doesn't she call him Lord when she sees him? Or is that the show only?
I don't know. She says King Renly right here, so I'm not sure. I know she doesn't. She doesn't call Stannis king, and he doesn't correct her. She's thankful.
I know in the show that she calls Renly Lord, and Brienne corrects her, but I can't remember if it's in the books or not.
We'll have to look for it.
Yeah.
Get there.
Well, that's actually a pretty good chapter. I say that down there every time we do a video.
Yeah, pretty much. There's definitely some interesting things in there.
Yeah, some definitely good foreshadowing on certain items. I mean,
Lizzie tells us that it does happen that way in the book.
Okay.
She says Lord and Brienne admonishes her in the book and tells her she should kneel.
See, that's funny that she says King Renly here and then doesn't do it when she's face to face.
Yeah, that's like the whole point of calling him King Renly is that you do so to him.
Yeah,
but it might be because they're because she's not wanting to take sides now that Stannis is declared at that point, right? At this point, she's thinking he's the only one that they're going to be talking to. But if she's come to realize that she's also about to be talking to Stannis, then maybe she can't afford to commit.
The meeting with her, Stannis, and Renly is probably is one of my favorite Cat chapters.
Oh yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Up next, we've got Preston's favorite chapter, Tyrion 2 here. And I say favorite sarcastically, right? Because he complains about this, and I actually think that this makes there's a reason. Hold while I type. Well, I think we already had one, but okay, I think we already had one. But if you got more, we're glad to hear it.
Knock it out, Lizzie.
But we can as we're waiting, just remind people that Preston doesn't like the fact that Tyrion turns on the one person who committed this act of betrayal for his family, and that it's, if you're punishing somebody for supporting you and for making you, then what does that send to your allies? But we know that Tywin specifically, oh, no, she thinks that if she gives him this, then he should give her son style. She doesn't want to appear weak, kind of like Davos insisting on hand of the king in the Merman's court. Yeah, yeah. I mean, um, yeah, it makes sense that he has to acknowledge Rob in order for her to acknowledge him. That's reasonable.
Yeah, that does make sense.
Um, but Preston complains about this, but actually we do know that Tywin specifically instructed Tyrion to take him out, right?
Yeah.
That was
Well,
unacceptable.
after what Janet Slit did, I don't care what the reasonings are for Tyrion doing
No,
what
no,
he does.
I get why we like
Yeah.
that Tyrion's taking him out. I'm just saying
Yeah.
that Preston doesn't like it because he doesn't like the message that it sends to anybody that supports the Lannisters. But we know that Tywin was just offended at the very concept of somebody who was lowborn being given Harrenhal, and he specifically told Tyrion it's unacceptable. And it's not a good reason from our perspective, right? So I understand Preston's point of view. I'm just saying that we know that Tywin has specifically instructed him to do this, so it's not really out of character for him to do so.
Yeah. Also, oh, damn, I forgot what I was going to say now.
Oh yeah, I was supposed to remind you of something.
Oh yeah. I know it's ambiguous and everything, but I thought about it after we were talking about the Arya chapter where Euron says it wasn't supposed to happen like that. Yeah, there you go. I agree, Lizzie. There's two things. He tells us that a hooded man brought Gendry and a message, and then he said, "Don't." And he looks at Arya and says, "Don't you mind? Never mind what the message was or whatever it was." He made a comment at it, and then he tells him that Ned was supposed to take the black. Well, and I don't know if when we did the chapter or when we did it in book club, I can't remember. But our theory is that the message is a message from Ned that he gave Varys. Well, my new thing is Varys knew that Ned was going to die. Even though he waves his hand and does this, oh no, don't. If Varys didn't know that Ned was going to die, and he thought he was going to the wall, why would he send the message from Ned to Jon when he's going? Which is assuming that it is to Jon.
Right. Well. I mean, it's also, I think we're leaping to conclusions there though, but because I mean, you could argue that what's really going on there is the message was, hey, you need to wait for. Why would he even be told to wait for Ned then if that was the case, right? So
yeah. I mean,
somebody told him to wait for Ned. So
he told him what the plan was. Yeah.
Yeah. So somebody believed that Ned was going that way. So wouldn't that be Varys? I mean, who else would be doing that?
Oh, I just started to think, other than the absolute 100%, we knew it was Littlefinger doing it. That some of the stuff happening in King's Landing that we blame on Littlefinger might actually have been Varys.
Right, and usually it looks like Varys is usually aware of what Littlefinger is doing, right? I mean, the whole concept of the bread riots thing and the Dragon Demands video on that is that Varys knew and couldn't move to stop it, but he wasn't going to be there.
Right. Well, I mean,
he wasn't. Because he runs through every. He's not. The Dragon Demands is very much aware that Varys knew the bread riots were coming, right?
Right.
He's and Dorcas, right, guys? Yeah, we should be saying Dorcas. We can say Varys. Good. Thanks for correcting us, Lizzie. So Dorcas is he's very much aware of the bread riots, and so that would kind of fit in with your theory there, right? The fact that he seems to that Dorcas seems to know what's going on and not necessarily be able to stop it or prevent it or even want to tip his
it's not necessarily
stopping and preventing it.
It's not necessarily that he planned Ned getting his head chopped off, but
Right.
I'm
Right.
thinking he knew it was because he sent the message. If we're correct in thinking that the message is to John.
Yeah, but that does kind of get convoluted as to why you would have your in there. So I kind of
Yeah.
went away from it, but
Okay.
just because it
And
gets a little too.
and then the other thing was, and I know you're not on board with the Gendry being the
Yeah, not entirely.
That's all right. But if you stop and think about that chapter, see with your eyes. Arya looks, and the horses are lathered, meaning they've been riding hell
Oh yeah.
bent to catch up. Well,
Right.
we've already been told by George and the books that riders can make twice as much time as heavy laden, ox driven
Sure.
carts. So there shouldn't have been a need to rush to
It is.
catch
It
the
is.
people traveling. Let me
You're
finish.
right. That's the they would catch them a lot earlier than that, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
they would have catched him regardless. I mean, they would have called him before they even made it to the neck. I think the reason that they were so hell bent to catch it was to catch the to catch Gendry before he made it to where the war was. I know I'm out there. It's a rabbit
Yeah.
hole,
No,
but
I mean, I see your logic there, right? I mean, what's the big deal if they're likely going to get killed anyway? Why?
right.
Now
And
it could be for their own safety that they're riding so fast, right? Because if
yeah,
they catch up to them where it's in the middle of the chaos of the war, their health is at risk there. So they do have some incentive to try and hurry it up.
but with basically every word in the story has to have a reason for it for because how damn long these
Yeah.
books are. For him to point out that the horses are lathered, he wanted us to know that the horses were lathered. That's the way my brain
Right.
thinks.
Yeah. No, they
Uh,
were definitely in a hurry, and so I
yeah,
mean, one explanation for that could be that they needed to catch him before because they knew that it was going to be too dangerous if they let him get much further.
yeah. Well, I'm thinking that that she wanted him back before he got to the war and potentially got killed. But I mean, if you see snowmen everywhere, then you're going to see snowmen everywhere. So
Yeah.
everything points
Yeah.
to it
Kind
being
of
a
goes back
snowman.
to our discussion of the purple wedding, and I'm like, it's like, but what you're saying here is that it's tied to wine and it's tied to the concept of somebody wanting to kill Joffrey so that Tommen will be king, right? And
Yeah,
you're like, oh, okay. But I see it this way. I'm like, yeah,
yeah.
I get that. I'm just saying.
Logic in this book goes both ways.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
If you use too much logic, then you're missing the story. But all right,
With
so we
that, I
got
have to
what
go back and I have to consider now that we're going to another Tyrion chapter. I have to think about Ned's second chapter and whether or not these two line up as well, right?
I have
So
to
we
reread Ned's
thought,
second chapter before I read this one. Then
yeah, maybe because we know that's frequently the case, right? You've got the whole. I think it's the same chapter that where they both climb through the secret passage to get to the brothel to see their lover.
well, I didn't realize that until you had pointed it out, and then once you
Yeah,
pointed it
there's
out,
a huge there's that it's definitely logically or to be a tinfoil
my
crown
hat
on true logic.
it's
Yeah,
it's it's
yeah.
lined inside with tinfoil.
So the key is the tinfoil. So iron and bronze are magnifying the Stark's working abilities, but the tinfoil magnifies your
There you go.
your acting abilities.
I could get behind that. I promise you. Uh, uh, man, I swear
All
I
right.
missed the missing 2 days last week pissed me off. So I'm glad we're back on track.
Yeah, it's good to
So
be back.
Wednesday for Tyrion 2, I feel better. I even missed book club that night. I laid down after taking medicine and I was gone. I mean, I woke up at
Well, glad you feel better.
2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Look, if Robin made his crown right, he might still be alive. Yeah,
Tenfold.
yeah. Maybe you would have listened to Grayland.
There
Grayland
you
certainly
go.
tried to prevent his well, I mean, not his original mistake, but his final mistake.
Well, that's bad things happen when they quit listening to their spirit animals.
Yeah,
Rob,
or when they
Manny,
separated from their
yeah,
what's it Guy says when bad things happen when they're separated from the wolves.
yeah. All right, Tyrion 2 on Wednesday, same bat time, same bat channel. I had a blast today. Lizzie, you were on fire
Yeah,
the whole time.
great to have you here.
Yeah. Lady Thistle, shout out. The Valencar, shout out. Like again, say again, my sister and her husband, Carl, for the shout out about Booster Gold. I appreciate it. Um, I'm glad that we're back on track getting these done because, like I
And
said,
shout out to thank you, Lizzie.
oh yeah, I just
And
found a
shout out
new
to
channel.
what's
I
that?
just found a new channel,
What's
Quinn the
that?
DM. Have you
Yeah,
heard of
I've been
him?
getting recommendations for that recently.
I just watched two of his videos and they're freaking awesome. One
Good.
was the Scargos, and the other one was the Huron and the the at the arbor with the sea of
And
blood.
David's had a few read throughs recently. LML and Preston's been doing his fan fiction and his live streams and just putting out a ton of stuff.
Yeah, Grease
Um,
Goblin's the Grease Goblin. He's been doing read throughs starting. I think with the first book. Um,
well, and LML just kind of jumps around to whatever has the most symbolism that he's interested in talking about, right?
yeah, but we
So
never
it's pretty
know where
cool.
something's going to pop up. So,
Yeah, yeah.
but all right, I had a blast, Lizzie. Thank you. Shout out to Lady Thistle, the Valancars, Christy, Carl,
Swagger Dagger.
Swagger Dagger. Yeah, definitely can't forget him. Um, thank you again, Richard, for doing these with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. It's
Um,
a pleasure.
the when I get the Stark armor in, one, I hope it fits, but two, I will be doing an unboxing video for it. Uh, and I'm sitting there going through my mind, if I got a size too small, how can I make alterations with it? And I'm like, I got to dust off the the sewing machine and get some fake leather. My brain's just going in overdrive because I'm scared. I spent all that money and I got the wrong size. But all right,
Ah,
we'll see y'all Wednesday.
sounds
And
good.
y'all take care. Have a good one. Bye.